margin, like if you take the magenta and move it above 70%, where it's putting more magenta down on the paper, you're going to get purple. And it's something to do with just the CMYK values, that the profile is trying to make that blue look as blue as possible, but those colors you're mixing together, you can't make it happen. So you got to, maybe I didn't.
You got to know what you're doing.
You got to know what you're doing.
You're the expert. And I was going to say, even when you look at a monitor, and I know Richard was talking about the browser, but if you look on a website, those colors are not always the same, even though you may be using the same.
You always have to print a proof. Yeah. And if you're not getting the look you want, you need to take it into a professional that can look at it on your phone, print out a sample proof to you and say, oh, this is why this is happening. Go back and do X, Y, Z to correct the problem, or it's not going to happen. Like, how come I don't get neon green? It's never going to happen.
I know when we were doing websites years ago, we would have clients that would send us stuff, and then they want to know it doesn't look the same, make it the same, and and the same with the font. And we tried to explain to them, not everybody. You can use a crazy font, but if someone does not have that font on their computer browser, they're not going to be able to see it or read it that way. That's why it's using a default font that all computers have is much easier to read. And there's different fonts you use online versus print with that little, I share that when I'm doing email marketing, telling them, don't use like Times Roman in an email because of the little flags on, all these little different things.
You get all these little curly-Q fonts, and you probably know the answer. What is the average monitor's pixel density right now? I mean, I don't know. You don't either, but you can't. You get those really fine scripted fonts with the little loops and curly
and it could fall apart fast, and especially in printing, that can fall apart fast too. I mean, especially when you get some really fine printing, and you get down to an 8-point font because you're trying to turn your business card into a billboard, and you're trying to jam in as much information on there. Sometimes the information gets lost.
I love how I think one of the cards we had you run once for us, and we did it against what you told us to do, and we changed it the next run, but it was like it was having it glossy on both sides, but we leave the back now where they can write on it, and we leave some space on it. I think we changed. Now we have the actual Social Radio Show logo now on the back of our card with the exact address they can listen to us online. We started thinking more effectively in how our card could be help us market ourselves better, and our social media company and our social radio show.
To point out, that came around, and I'm not trying to bring the attention just 100% back to me, but that's just talking to a professional printer, and it inspires you to say, well, wait a second, that makes sense. Now you start applying it in other aspects of printing. Exactly. It just makes you that much smarter in your own business on how you put your information out there.
Very much so. Very much so. Another question, I'm not sure, RGB versus CYMK. What's the difference?
So RGB is red, green, and blue. Okay. That's CMYK is cyan, magenta, and yellow.
Okay.
So, in the printer world, we all print in CMYK values. That's RGB will give you red, green, and blue. They'll use those. The profiles will mix those colors together to reproduce black. All right, so you'll get a very rich, very thick black. So if you print out, if you set up your file, and Word is typical of this, because they're an RGB, it runs in an RGB environment, and if you use a rich black, sometimes it'll come out gloppy on the printer. That's because it's trying to produce that. It's trying to mix that black, and it's just dropping too much ink, just trying to overcompensate for that. So that's what RGB does. In a print environment, you try to if you're going for online, you want pop and you want the colors to look great. You design for in RGB for online purposes. If you're designing for print, like you plan to print it out, you design in CMYK.
Okay, and then another question: how close to Pantone colors can you print with CYMK?
Oh, that's I could send you a picture of the color wheel chart, and it looks like that's something hard to describe over the radio. But
why don't you give your phone number, because this person's local here. Okay. So give your phone number, how they can get in touch with you, and definitely.
It's my number is 321-242-7766. And I'm happy to answer any questions, or if you want to come in and discuss it. But yeah, that's what happens is in the CMY, so there's if you look at all the color gamuts, the color spectrum, it's a round circle, and it's a weird oblong shape within that color circle that CMYK could hint Pantone colors. Everything out of that shape, CMYK is going to try to force it to make it look that color. And what happens is you get your purple. Your blues go to purple because CMYK is trying to take those colors outside its gamut and push it to make it like, well, let's try to simulate it. And that's where you start hitting the brick walls. And that's an important thing when you're picking colors for your company, Pantone colors for your company. It's cool to go through the swatch book and say, hey, I like this color, I like this color, I like this color. But you got to see what it looks like when it's CMYK. Because I've seen a lot of people come in with their artwork and they're like, why isn't this not looking right? Why is my printer can't print the color I want, and I'll point out, I'll pull out the Pantone books and I'll say, hey, you got the wrong colors. You can't make that happen.
And it could also be the type of paper they're using.
Oh yeah,
right? The thin
definitely.
Paper versus
well, not even thin. It's color of it's the way the ink
it's a white or a gray or
actually whether it's coated or uncoated. We have multiple Pantone books, and we have a coated Pantone book and an uncoated Pantone book, and the colors might be right, but if I put the coated and uncoated books next to each other, people are blown away on how much. This is run on the same press. This is run using the same exact ink, just two different pieces of paper. And one looks purpley and muddy, and one looks, navy blue and vibrant. And it's just paper change.
Wow. So working with your father all these years, this is what you've done. Have you ever done anything else?
Believe it or not, it really kind of wasn't what I've done. My father started, well, that's a little bit of I'll try to make it short.
Okay.
My father started as... it took an engineering class in college, in Queensborough Community College. I mean, he was an Italian immigrant, came off the boat Italian.
Wow.
My mother was off the boat German. And he went to Queensborough Community College, got his engineering degree, went to the job placement at the city, and they gave him this job in an advertising agency. He said, go check this out. This fits right up your alley. Turns out to be it was photostat. Basically what they do is he creates all the photostats. Back then, they used to make mechanicals. They used to cut and paste before it went to print. So he took the job on running the photostat department in gray advertising. And from there, he moved on to Ogilvy and Mata, O&M, as best I know. And then after that, me and my father landed a contract with Bates to be their in-house operation. We own the business. It used to be BSB and then Bates Worldwide for a while before, unfortunately, the internet, when the internet bubble popped, so did that business. But I've been just around advertising all my life. I mean, I used to go into work when I was little with him, and
wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. It's a bubble. It's an interesting bubble.
Well, it's just you've showcased today how much knowledge you have, and that you live and breathe this, and that you're very passionate about it.
Yeah, I am.
I can tell that, and as long as I've known you and everything, we've never used any other printer here locally.
I like hearing that.
We don't do a lot in print, but when we do, and that you're the person that we come to. So definitely.
Yep, like the books when we take our LinkedIn books and Facebook guides and all those, where they have to look good because we're selling them.
Yes,
on that. You're the man.
It's one thing I pride myself in my shop. I run all Canon digital equipment. I have traditional presses, but I believe in having top quality machinery in my shop. I really don't mess around I've been using Canon equipment since '89. I was actually when the first color Canon printer came out. I worked on that machine back in '89, the CLC1, and what a difference.
Oh, I'm sure. Just in the last few years, I would be surprised, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I tell you, I know you roll up your sleeves, too. I've walked into your shop when you're underneath the machine sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Kicking it. Hopefully my tech's not hearing this.
So sometimes you don't have time to wait for the factory rep to come out and evaluate something. You just got to go.
You just got to go with it. You got to figure it out and get it done. But I've been around these machines long enough. Sometimes I can get myself out of a jam most times.
Well, have you had any type of jobs come through your print shop that were rush jobs and as far as they were
you got
crazy,
any Tums available or stiff alcohol? Yeah.
So how do you handle those type of clients? Because I know you treat everybody very kindly.
I just had a situation where a marketing company and the online company's service they used blew their deadline, and the client had to have the project first thing in the morning. It was Thursday or Wednesday at 3:00, and then they called me up. I'm like, Rob, we need these booklets. I mean, and they weren't even average booklets. They were these miniature 4x4 booklets that get folded and stitched, so a little more labor intense, a little more custom. And they need if I remember correctly, I think they needed about 300 or 500 of them. And this was just a week ago. And 2 weeks ago, and they needed it like right now. They needed it by 8:00 that night, and it was literally we stopped the clock on the shop and we just threw ourselves into it, and we got it banged out, and their client was extremely happy.
And you probably have them now as your client.
Yeah.
That's another good thing, and that's what being a true business person, what it's all about. And to me, that is why you want to have a relationship with someone local that can service you that way and really take care of you and keep you calm. Because I know it's easy as a business person to get stressed if you're under a pressure, especially if they were a marketing company and they knew they had to get this stuff for a client.
Exactly.
So they knew that you took care of them. So what is one lesson you can share with other business owners that you've learned along the way as a business owner?
Wow, this, owning your own business and buying your own is like a college education. You can go to college and you can learn all you want in the books. But when you buy a business, that's, the first couple of years is a college education in itself. I'd have to say, I'll be honest with you. Everybody says the client's always right. And maybe this is bad for me to say. And they are. The client, you try to make the client happy all the time. If you have those clients that you can never make happy, or you can't just hit their mark, you can't hold on to them, because they're going to drag down your business, and you're better off referring them to someone that maybe can service them better. Because you don't want to leave your business with a black eye. That's the one thing you don't want to do. And if you just can't seem to if this one client, for whatever reason, you can't get it right for this one client, and it happens to everybody, sometimes, and either you say to them, saying, hey, listen, I'm not knocking it out of the park for you. How about I help you find another vendor? I'm be more than happy to turn over the artwork and share my artwork with them. If they're running into any problems, I'll be there to help you out. 9 out of 10 times they stay with me and they become my best clients. So you just can't be afraid of your clients, because certain ones can run you into the ground and other ones can raise you up.
Yeah. It's like being, a new business starting out, it's balancing need versus desperation.
Yes.
I've got to have it. And then you get up and then you take a job that you really knew you didn't have time to produce, and
that's part of it.
And then you really
you got to be careful with the yes. The word yes could get you in a lot of trouble. Can you get this done by this time? Yes. Can you do this? Yes. You say too many yeses and you're like, oh no.
I tell Richard, under promise and over deliver. Don't ever over promise and under deliver.
I feel like I'm always over promising and under.
No, but
it's crazy.
But you do get caught up in that because you want to please everybody. And I know as a business owner, we've been in business and we've had our ups and downs through the years since 98. In fact, we'll be hitting our 18th year together as a business. I mean, we've made some changes, but
that drives business too. You got to remember,
or 20 years,
saying that yes and helping these people out. One thing you could also say, when someone hits you with a deadline over and over again, and you like them as a client, you like them as a person, but they keep hitting you with that deadline and you keep turning it around, it's like Vegas. The odds are against you. Sooner or later, you're going to fail them.
That's true.
And it's not your fault. It's not the business owner's fault if you come in at the last minute every single time, and that one time you're going to blow the deadline. You can't beat yourself up to it because the machine went down. The paper just wants to jam. Who doesn't show up to work in your operation, and now you're one man down, and the unexpected happens.
We all are faced with some of those similarities in business as entrepreneurs. Richard taught me years ago not to be afraid to release a client.